Welcome to EuroTeamsUG for the month of February. We're all really excited to have you today. EuroTeams, for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't attended before, is run by Adam Deltinger, Vesa Nopanen, and myself. We started this group now quite a while ago, so back in January 2019, and we've ran them every month since then, with the exception of, I think it was November for Ignite. Vesa joined in September 2019 because of the expanding amount that we've had to do. So he's been on board since Oktoberfest last year, and we're potentially looking at getting more members to organise these events throughout this coming year. So a little bit about EuroTeams for, again, anyone who's not been here before or has never heard of this or has never attended. We're all about creating a network of Teams professionals, principally in the European continent, but we've kind of expanded over the course of the last year, and it's just really about creating a user group for a network of individuals who are Teams enthusiasts and advocates all around the world. In addition to creating that network, we want to be able to give them opportunities to speak. So you could just be starting out with Teams, or you could be very advanced in using Teams, and it's a platform in equal measure. I guess you could say that Adam and I were in the beginning dissatisfied from not having a platform with which to speak about Teams. We were getting a lot of rejections from events. We also wanted to polish up our speaking, and the best way to do that was to create our own user group. And all you need to do is to email EuroTeamsUG@outlook.com. So that email that's down there in the green space, and basically apply to be able to speak on this user group. We typically have 2 to 3 speakers every single month. We don't discriminate, so we don't have like kind of the same people time and time again. We try to change it up. And that could be on any aspect of Teams, whether that's about development, whether that's about security, whether that's about automation through the Power Platform, whether it's about voice. You can pick any subject to do with Teams. Nothing is off limits. And the same goes for levels, whether it's 100 right the way through to 400. We are interested in everything. And that leads us on to the third point, which is really the democratization of that Teams knowledge. Again, we're really passionate about sharing our knowledge with everyone, whether they're a beginner or whether they're very advanced, and supporting enthusiasts and advocates in the growth of their team knowledge all around the world. I mean, we all work for companies, and I'm pretty sure that, we all do our consulting to customers at a certain price, but this is 100% community based and 100% to share what we've learned of Microsoft Teams to others and help them in their Teams journey. Adam, do you want to speak a little bit about who's speaking today?
Yeah, sure. Today we have 2 speakers. We have Eric Marsi, who's going to talk about auto attendance and call queues in the cloud. And we also got our own Chris Hoard talking about Microsoft Stream and Microsoft Teams better together, right, Chris?
Yeah, this was a session that I did a few weeks ago at the Commsverse in-store event in Oxford Circus in the middle of London. That's at the new Microsoft store. Very excited about this. I mean, the session went down very well, and hopefully I can share it with the group to know about a little bit about the integration. Eric, do you want to give an overview of your session?
Might have if I actually unmute my mic.
No worries.
So my session is going to go ahead and talk about the different topologies that are available for when deploying cloud auto attendants and cloud call queues, whether you're using Skype for Business Server on premises, or you're using Skype for Business Online, or even a Teams only tenant.
That's fantastic. So we've got one on the voice side of things. We have one on the integration and the media side of things. And again, going back to that original point about giving speakers a platform, we try to put 2 different sessions within each user group. So we won't do all one exclusively on development or all one exclusively on voice. We want to be as broad as possible. So A little bit about upcoming notifications before we go into the session with Eric. He's starting out today. The first is our annual conference, so Teams Fest. That's going to be going ahead on Wednesday, the 1st of April. That's from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. GMT. The call for speakers closed last month. It's a very exciting conference. I think we've got in the region of 42 or 44 sessions. That's from speakers all around the world. So some of the very best speakers in Teams. We have our own Vesa Nopanen is going to be speaking in that. We have Lorian Strand. We have Paul Kaisers. We have Carolina Ketukari. We have many, many more. And you can see all of them on Microsoft365pro.co.uk/TeamsFest. So that's a virtual online conference. It's completely free. You can join any one of those sessions online throughout the day and deep dive into all aspects of Teams. Now, we did Oktoberfest last year in October. We had about 400 attendees. We had an average session rating of somewhere around 4.7. So the event was very much a success. This time around, we have two keynote speakers. So we have Caruana Gatamu, who leads Teams Engineering, I believe, and also Vesa Juvonen, who's a principal PM. Those are very big names. We have Laurie Popmeyer, who manages all of the Microsoft MVPs, who is speaking. I can't recommend enough to attend this event. This is the big one throughout the year for us. So Vesa, Adam, and myself have been working on this in the background. All of the speakers have now been confirmed, and within the next week or so, all the room URLs will go up. So have a look at the sessions on the site, give us your feedback, and we look forward to seeing you there. In addition, because of the MVP Summit, which happens next month in Redmond and Bellevue, we won't be holding a European user group session, but we will be returning in April. That's because not only of the MVP Summit, but also Teams Fest, we're going to have a lot on during March, which just means that we're not going to have enough bandwidth to do one of the UG sessions. But it will be back in April, and then from April be every month thereafter. So I think that's the introduction to today. And just before we get into Eric's session, this is going to be a good one. Adam, Vesa, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, not from my side. Thank you,
no, just mark the Teams Fest 1st of April to your calendar. Just so you will attend that, because it's a great event.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vesa, Adam, and myself are going to be sitting down within the next week or so again to talk about the best ways that we notify people and that we keep you up to date. And as Vesa said, mark it in your diaries. The URLs will be forthcoming. The ICS files will be forthcoming. And for any of the presenters are here, all the templates and is forthcoming too. So that's fantastic, and it's great to be back again. I missed the last month, so I'm really excited about getting into this session. So I'm just going to stop presenting now, and Eric, do you want to kind of take over?
Yep. So it's right now uploading the PowerPoint to Teams. And let me know once everybody can go ahead and see the presentation. And can you see that, Adam, now?
There it is.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. So good morning. Today I'm going to be talking about deploying Cloud Auto Attendants and Cloud Call Queues for multiple topologies, whether you're using Skype for Business Server, Skype for Business Online, or Microsoft Teams. So on the agenda for today, we're going to start off with the introduction. Then we're going to go into the planning and prerequisite phase, then follow up by the deployment process with some testing and validation following that, and then wrap up the presentation at the end. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the introduction. A little bit about me. I'm from Barberton, Ohio. I am a Day 2 cloud engineer at T2M Works LLC, formerly Time to Market, in case you guys may know that name better. We recently did the name change at the beginning of the year. and are offering great new services with T2M, and really happy to be working there. For the first time, I'm actually able to call myself a part-time student. Previously, if I had done an introduction, I would have been a full-time student, but I have one class a semester, and man, it is amazing just counting down those days to graduation. I have my MCSE in productivity solutions. I got that in April 2019, along with my MCSA in Office 365. And IT in general has been a lifelong passion and hobby for me. I really don't even really consider what I do work half the time. It's just fun because it's something that I absolutely love. I also consider myself a converged engineer, meaning one that's able to understand the network, your servers, in not just one aspect of your voice or Skype for Business or Teams deployment that you have. So the purpose of today's session is to learn in general what cloud auto attendants and cloud call queues are, learn about different topologies that you can use cloud auto attendants and cloud call queues in, determine what prerequisites are needed before deployment of the above services, and along the way, learn some best practices when deploying them. So we're going to go ahead and go into the planning and prerequisites phase. And we need to first start off with what are cloud auto attendants. So cloud auto attendants are Microsoft's replacement for Microsoft Exchange Unified Messaging auto attendants. They're designed to be a cloud design service. So previously, when Exchange Unified Messaging was brought to the table in 2007, it was built for on-prem and really not a cloud-first application. Now, another big thing to keep in mind is that Exchange does go away this Friday, February 28th. So make sure that if you do have any auto attendants right now on Exchange you do get those off of that as soon as possible, because they will not be auto migrated like voicemail is from Exchange One really cool thing about cloud auto attendants compared to the older Exchange is you no longer have to convert audio files to single channel wave formats. So previously you had to go through and set it to, I think it's like 8,000 hertz, 16-bit, 8-bit monos, kind of a pain to convert all your recordings for your auto attendant. So now you no longer have to do that. You can upload an MP3 or so forth to the auto attendant. And due to this, audio is a lot crisper when listening to it over a phone call. So in addition to cloud auto attendants, Microsoft also introduced a product called Cloud Call Queues. Now, Cloud Call Queues are Microsoft's replacement for the Skype for Business Online call queues and the on-premises response groups. So if you're using Skype for Business Server, you'd have response groups today, or if you're using Skype for Business Online, you would have had the older online call queues. Now, call queues allow you to go ahead and route calls in kind of like a hold fashion to multiple users via different ways. So there's like an attendant routing method, a serial routing method, which determines how the users will get the calls, whether you're ringing them all at once or you're ringing them in an order that's top to bottom and so forth. Now, what's really nice about these is that you're able to add different customizations, so custom hold music. So if you have an auto attendant that goes ahead and says, okay, you press 1 for our accounting department. You press 1, you get the accounting department. If there's nobody answering the phone yet, you can customize that hold music to say, our company does this, and have just kind of like a little jingle while the caller is on hold. Now, cloud call queues can be used just for internal purposes, but they're commonly used in correlation with cloud auto attendants. And they also do not require a dedicated phone number if you are transferring from a cloud auto attendant or an internal service. So now, when you look at cloud auto attendants and cloud call queues, they are kind of tied together by the basic principle of how they are set up in the back end. So they're useful for organizations not moving to Microsoft Teams overnight and need to retain interop with both on-premises and cloud-based users. So previously, if you were to go, currently, if you go set up a response group, you can only add on-premises users if you're running in a Skype for Business hybrid environment. With cloud auto attendants and cloud call queues, you're able to go ahead and actually bring those calls to somebody that's cloud only, on premises, or even just kind of in between. So it's added to the tenant. The functionality only appears within the Teams admin center if a single phone system license is available in that tenant. So if you go sign into your Teams admin center currently and you do not see any reference to auto attendants or call queues under the voice app inside the TAC, you need to go ahead and purchase a phone system license. Now, if you have an E3 or an E1, you have to purchase that license in addition. But if you have an E5, you already have that phone system license, the phone system added to your tenant. Now, the Cloud Auto Attendants and Cloud Call Queues work with Skype for Business Server, Skype for Business Online, and Microsoft Teams. Now, one thing that's right now uncertain is that they may not work with any Skype for Business service after Skype for Business Online is shut down in July 2021. And it's primarily due to the tenant is no longer looking at the shared SIP address space once the tenant is set to Teams only mode. And so, meaning the Office 365 tenant, once it's set to Teams only mode, is thinking that it is the only home for the SIP addresses for those users. And there's potential, no word from Microsoft currently, but there is a chance that there will be no way to route from a Cloud Auto Attendant or Cloud Call Queue to an on-premises user after that point. One workaround I kind of came up with, if they were to implement something like that, is to use Teams direct routing. And then instead of forwarding to just the user objects, they are going to be adding a feature here shortly that will allow you to route to a PSTN number, which you could then just put to the PST number of somebody that's on premises if you are retaining Skype for Business Server after July 2021. So there are different topologies that are available to use when using a Cloud Auto Attendant or Cloud Call Queue. And it really comes down to three main ones from Microsoft, but I will discuss the fourth one after this slide. So the first one is somebody who is using just solely Skype for Business Server, and they have an on-premises SBC with connectivity to their PSTN. And the incoming call will actually come in through Skype for Business and route via the Skype for Business Edge server to Microsoft 365 to actually get to that Cloud Auto Tenant. And this is done by creating a hybrid application endpoint on premises that will route that call to the Cloud Auto Tenant. The second way is just via Teams direct routing. So the call will come in via the session border controller that's on premises or potentially even hosted inside of Azure or AWS. And then that will route directly to the Cloud Auto Tenant via the trunk through Office 365. The other way that you can use Cloud Auto Attendants and Cloud Call Queues is via an Office 365 calling plan. So Microsoft offers a domestic calling plan at $12 user a month, or a international calling plan at $24 user a month, where you can assign a DID and use Microsoft solely as the phone service for that Cloud Auto Attendant. And you can also mix and match between these. So if you have some auto attendants using calling plans, you have some auto attendants using direct routing, you have some auto attendants using Skype for Business Server, it is fully supported. But do keep in mind that if you do have Skype for Business Server deployed on premises, you do want to be creating those contact objects in Skype for Business Server, or the contacts within Skype for Business Server will not be able to actually dial those auto attendants created outside of it. So I went through and created, kind of took the Microsoft topology and kind of created an additional topology that is available. So when you look at a hybrid topology, you can have the PSTN route go through two different ways. So per Microsoft's diagram that you saw previously, you have the external calling in to your through your PSTN to your session border controller, routing through Skype for Business through the edge, and then routing to Microsoft 365 to get to the auto tenant. Another way that you can actually go about this is by using direct routing as the PSTN route while retaining a Skype for Business hybrid environment. So if you actually look here at this blue arrow, you'll see that the call comes in the SBC, but the SBC now has a route manipulation that says that this number, this destination prefix needs to go towards the Cloud Auto Attendant service through the Teams direct routing trunk. So you'll see that call will flow across the internet to Microsoft 365. Now, Microsoft 365 that has the Cloud Auto Attendant is going to go ahead and state the auto tenant options. But if you have a cloud only user, it will route to that cloud only user. But in this case, you'll see that blue arrows coming back to the Skype for Business on premises environment. What it's actually doing is it's routing a call that's going to a Skype for Business on premises user back through the edge into the Skype for Business deployment where the user is registered at. Now, actually, I did click there across the side. Now, the top topology does not require a phone system virtual user license on that auto attendant to actually work because it is just using SIP. It's not really doing anything with Microsoft phone system. But you still need a phone system license added to the Office 365 tenant, but not assigned to that resource account to at least enable the Cloud Auto Attendant, Cloud Call Queue services that are available. Two other topologies that exist are via direct routing, where you have the external caller coming into your PSTN that's tied to your SBC. And then SBC is just routing that call across the internet to Office 365. Now, if you are using calling plans, you do not require any infrastructure whatsoever. Microsoft handles that through a third-party SIP provider from Bandwidth. And the external caller will just come straight into the Office 365 tenant. Now, currently, there are some features that are now available in Cloud Auto Attendants that used to exist inside of Exchange Now, one of the things that you wouldn't be able to do, were able to do before, was direct dialing of a E164 phone number. That is coming soon. Microsoft, I believe, they are working on testing that currently. No ETA of when that will hit production tenants. Currently, if you do need to transfer a call from a auto attendant to the PSTN, you can use a temporary forwarding account. So if you're using Skype for Business Server, you can just create a fake enterprise voice user that has their forwarding options set to that phone number's destination. And when that is set as a forward to that user through the Cloud Auto Attendant, it will forward to that PSTN number. If you're using Teams, you can just create a Teams only user in the cloud, and then go ahead and assign a calling plan, direct routing number, and go ahead and set the forwarding options within Teams to the PSTN. Currently, there also is no voicemail share mailbox for auto attendants and cloud call queues. That is also coming in the future. Now, there are some other Exchange features. There's actually a really good list on the internet that are no longer available. One of them being subscriber access or Outlook voice access, fax, and more. These features don't really pertain to auto attendants, but more or less pertain to Exchange offerings that used to exist. Now, I've talked about resource accounts partially, and one way to think about them is virtual users that are tied to a resource object. So when you are building an auto attendant, you have to, you can build 15 auto attendants, but those auto attendants aren't routable unless there is a virtual resource account assigned to them. So in a hybrid topology, it requires that you create these accounts on premises and sync them via Azure AD Connect to the cloud. So there's a commandlet of a new-CS hybrid application endpoint that will actually create that on premises, where you also assign the on-premises line URI that is tied to Skype for Business. So that's how Skype for Business knows that phone number for that contact object. And then if any call comes into that contact object, Skype for Business server knows to route that to Office 365. Now, if you have a Teams-only environment and you are using direct routing or a calling plan, you can create these directly in the cloud. If you actually were to try to create these while you have a hybrid topology using your primary SIP domain, you are going to receive an error in the Teams Admin Center that will prevent you from actually creating these. Now, the phone system virtual user licenses are required for all topologies except the Skype for Business hybrid with no Teams direct routing, as previously stated. So now, looking at the prerequisites, we need to kind of figure out what we need to have in place before we're able to do this with each one of the 4 topologies. So if you're using a hybrid topology where there is no direct routing PSTN route, you're using just an SBC, you have no direct routing, and you have Skype for Business on-prem. You need to make sure that you're running either Skype for Business Server 2015 or Skype for Business 2019. If you're running 2015, you need to have CU8 or higher. The current version is CU10 hotfix 1. And if you're running Skype for Business Server 2019, you need to make sure that you're or at least running that, but also just kind of note, run the CU2 if you can. You also must have hybrid connectivity to Skype for Business Online. So you do need to make sure that you have that enabled shared SIP address space, setting your Office 365 tenant, and that you have the Skype for Business Online hosting provider set on your Edge servers. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you need to have had this an Office 365 tenant before September 2019, because any tenant created after September 2019 is already in Teams only mode, meaning that there is no Skype for Business Online component where you would be able to route between on-premises and online. The Teams only tenants could not route anything on premises. So make sure that your tenant was created before September 2019. Users also must have a small business license with business voice, an enterprise E1, E3 with phone system, or an E5 to take advantage of the Microsoft Teams voice features. And the recommended practice of when using this topology is when you want to keep all of your services on-prem. So perhaps your company just made a large investment in Skype for Business Server and you'd have a bunch of phones. You're not really looking at the cloud. You want to use this topology to at least retain the auto tenant functionality with Skype for Business Server, but when you're keeping all your services on-prem. When you look at the other hybrid topology where you have a direct routing PSTN route, the requirements are all at the exact same, except you do need an additional phone system virtual user license for that resource account that we are creating. That is a free license. You can have almost pretty much an unlimited amount added to your tenant. Then also, in addition to this, you have to have Microsoft Teams direct routing deployed. So one of the requirements for direct routing is that you have to have a direct routing capable SBC. So whether it's audio codes or an AnyNode or a Sonus SBC, you do want to make sure that you're using a direct routing capable SBC. If you do want to go ahead and deploy direct routing, visit my blog, www.ucit.blog, for a step-by-step guide for deploying Teams direct routing. And my recommendation when using this type of topology is when you want to eventually move to the cloud. So your organization's looking at moving strictly to Teams, but you're not there yet. Maybe you have a year or two before moving. You want to use this topology when moving, planning that. Now, for customers that are in Teams only mode already in their Office 365 tenant, you need the same licensing requirements as for the previous topology, where you need that phone system virtual user license in addition to the other licenses for the tenant. You also need direct routing again, and then my recommendation for this is when you want to work with different SIP integrations or you're retaining your on-premises PSTN. So perhaps you just moved from Skype for Business Server, you have a 3-year contract with your on-premises SIP provider, you don't want to cancel that and have to pay these massive termination charges. You can retain that SBC and keep that on premises and use that with your Office 365 tenant. This also is potential to save your organization money because the calling plans are pretty expensive. So if you are paying, let's just say $1 per DID a month with your current SIP provider and a very small amount per minute and your users aren't using too much bandwidth, you can go ahead and retain that SBC and save your organization some money. But the other big one is SIP integrations. So with different SBCs, you can do a direct SIP registration where you can register a PA system or some other type of third-party PBX solution to your Teams tenant and retain that with your cloud-only environment. So it is really useful when doing so. Now, the other topology that is available is via calling plans. So calling plans require the same licenses for the previous topology, but in addition, you have to purchase a domestic or international calling plan and assign that to the resource account that is created for the auto attendant or cloud call queue. If you're just using the auto attendant as your PSTN entry point and then just routing to a cloud call queue, you do not need to have a calling plan for the call queue if it does not need to be accessible via the PSTN directly. So let's go ahead and look at the deployment process for the 4 different topologies. When you look at the hybrid topology where you're not using the direct routing PSTN route, you need to first create that hybrid application endpoint on premises. So Microsoft provides a commandlet that is available in those Skype for Business Server revisions, which is new CS hybrid application endpoint. You also need to set the display name. In this case, I just said OH1RAA1. You could set this to like Texas Mainline or something that signifies what the auto attendant is to be called. Next, you need to set the SIP address. So that needs to be in SIP format where you have the SIP colon at the beginning of the SIP address. And then go ahead and set what you want that SIP address to be. The OU is where you want that account to be set to. So one thing to keep in mind about this OU is that that OU needs to be syncing to Office 365. So if you aren't syncing your default user's OU, you want to make sure you're putting that into an OU that does sync with Azure AD Connect to Office 365. And then last but not least, you do set the on-premises line URI, and that is in the tel colon format. Now, after that, you can either wait up to 30 minutes for Azure AD Connect to sync the account to Office 365, but you could also go to the Azure AD Connect server and do an import module AD sync and then start an AD sync cycle policy type Delta. Now, when you look at the hybrid topology for the direct routing PSTN route, the process is very similar where you create that resource account on premises, you force it to sync to Azure AD. But what you then need to do is assign a phone system virtual user license to that account inside of Office 365. Now, after that, you also need to modify your SBC to route that specific DID towards Microsoft Teams. So in this case, I was using an AnyNode SBC. And what you have to do is just modify the routing domain to only allow routing of the selected DIDs towards Teams. This demo lab that I have here in the screenshot just had 2 DIDs mapped to Teams, as you can see right here. And it is different per SBC vendor. whether you're an audio code, Sonos, or even if you're even using like a Cisco SBC that's now certified, the process is going to be different. So do refer to your manufacturer of your SBC for the process on how to do so. Now, one thing after this is you may or may not have to do this next commandlet, depending on whether the phone number did sync correctly or not to Office 365, but you need to run the set CS online application instance, set the SIP address of the account, and then identify the on-prem phone number. Sometimes this does sync, sometimes it doesn't. I've seen it do both, but that commandlet is provided there just in case you do run into an environment where that does not get synced to Office 365. For the third topology, where you're just using direct routing and you're wanting to use that on-premises phone number, you're going to create that resource account and assign a virtual phone system license to that user within the cloud and not actually on premises. So to do this, you're actually going to log into the Teams Admin Center, go to your org-wide settings, and then select resource accounts. That will have you then go ahead and set the display name, set the username of that resource account, and then determine what type of resource account it is, whether it's an auto tenant or call queue. If you were to create this as an auto tenant and you've realized, hey, crap, I forgot to set this as a call queue on mistake, you can go back and edit that anytime through the Teams Admin Center. After that, assign the resource account or virtual phone system user license. And then since we are using direct routing currently does not allow you to set the DID that is assigned to that resource account via the Teams Admin Center. So you do need to connect to Skype for Business Online PowerShell and run the set CS on the application instance commandlet that was referenced before. And here in this bottom window, you can see what the output is of running that commandlet inside of Office 365. And you can see that phone number is now assigned to that account at the bottom. Now, when using a calling plan, the process is a lot simpler, where you can do most of the things within the all the things actually within the Teams Admin Center. So again, you're going to create that resource account in the Teams Admin Center and assign that phone system virtual license. But in addition to that, you're also adding a calling plan license, whether it's domestic or international. Finally, you do have to go back to the Teams Admin Center and assign a DID to the account. You may have to reserve a DID as a service number in case you do not have any available. And that is as simple as going to the phone numbers app under the voice app inside the Teams Admin Center. So now the specific steps about the creating the auto tenants and cloud call queues are not going to actually be covered in this guide. Microsoft's online setup wizard actually does provide a really good step-by-step tutorial on how to actually do so. But one thing to keep in mind when actually setting up your cloud auto tenant or cloud call queue is that the last step on the auto tenant and the first step on the cloud call queue is actually assigning that resource account that we previously created, whether it's from on-prem or create as a cloud-only account. So in this screenshot below, you can actually see that I have that resource account listed during my Teams Admin Center setup for the cloud auto tenant, and I went ahead and added that account, and you can see that it's now tied to that auto tenant. Now, you pretty much you have to make sure that you assign that previously created resource account to that auto tenant or call queue in order for it to actually be routed to. So now that you've got your auto tenant or cloud call queue deployed, we can start beginning the testing and validation process. So you want to do an extensive functional validation testing, or FET for short. And if you're testing an auto tenant, make sure that you can dial each auto tenant menu option. So if you have 9 menu options set up in the auto tenant, make sure you can do those. Also, make sure that you can route calls between internal and external users if you are using a hybrid environment. But also make sure that you can also do a directory search by the user's name. So if you enable the dial by name directory, you can just state the person's name during that auto tenant's phone call and make sure that call routes to that user. If you're using a cloud queue, verify that the user routing method is correct and it is what you intended to set out to do, whether it be serial or the auto tenant style, and verify that the calls are both ringing between on-premises and cloud-only users. At the end of this, ask yourself, did I meet my team's success criteria? So this is really to sit down and think, okay, we've deployed this. Is it actually what we wanted? If it is, then you have passed your testing and validation phase. Just as a bit of wrap up, I do want to give a special thank you to AnyNode, the software SBC, for the licensing to build this presentation. Really awesome product that they do provide. Be sure to check them out at anynode.de. They are a really great company to work with, and I'm very thankful to at least have them to help sponsor my lab environments. And then does anybody have any questions?
Hi, Eric.
Hi.
My name's Clive Hillier. It's first time here. Quick one for you. You mentioned the voicemail scenario for auto attendants and call queues. Has anyone got any knowledge around when Microsoft are likely to release the call queue side? Because they have for the auto attendants now.
Okay. I have not seen that. I believe that was actually primarily for just the auto attendants, but give me 1 second. Let me look here real quick. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm not sure on the release date yet. That's actually news to me that the auto tent was released, so they must have kind of snuck that one under my belt.
It was released, I think it was released about, or definitely into our tenant about 4 weeks or so ago, and there was no documentation to support it when they released it. But you actually use Office 365 groups now to do the voicemail side of it. So we've actually implemented it on one queue so far. With, I'd say, limited success, because we're getting a lot of call drops since doing it. But yeah, it's the call queue side of it that's, from my perspective, is or would be a lot more beneficial, because it's where we use most of our numbers coming in. The other thing, just to note around the licensing, you mentioned the call plans, etc. But also with respect to comms credits, because I don't know, I'm from the UK, I'm not sure country-wise where you're from yourself, but over here the comms credits play quite a key part, because if you ring any premium rate numbers, it therefore means that Microsoft have to have a way to charge back. So it adds, you have to have comms credits if you dial any customers that use premium rate numbers.
So that's dialing out though, correct?
Yes, Liz.
Yep. So that's
sorry, go on.
So that primarily comes down to like the user routing out a call, or if you're doing like a forward to PSTN through one of those like virtual user accounts, you have to have those communication credits. But if you have the domestic or international calling plan, and that is the number that's assigned to that resource account, it is going to use the minutes that are part of that domestic or international calling plan instead of the communications credits for the incoming PSTN call.
Yes, but not for outgoing. So if you make any outgoing calls, those comms credits have to be there.
Yes. Yep.
Even if you've got a pool. So. Okay, cool.
Right, thank you, sir.
It from me on that one. Thank you. Good presentation, though. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Okay, I think that's been great. Thanks, Eric, and no, thank you ever so much for taking the time and for the time difference for you being over in the US.
Yep. Thank you guys all for having me. It was great. And if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or via LinkedIn, or even through commenting on my blog. I try to reach out to as many people as I can if you guys do respond to one of my posts. So thank you guys again. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you guys walked away learning some stuff today. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And of course, your session will be uploaded to YouTube as well after this. So if anyone want to see this session again, just jump into one of our YouTube channel or watch it.
Yep. And all the information that was contained in this, the hybrid topology guide is actually currently live on my blog. But I will be adding I will actually kind of be appending to that blog post and adding the additional information just for direct routing, only customers, and so forth here in the next couple weeks.
All right. Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, guys.
Thank you very much. All right. Yeah. Shall we move on to the next session? Chris, are you ready?
Yeah. Let me just fire it up. Just whilst I'm firing up, everyone can see Eric over here in the UK. He's coming over for Comsverse and we'll be speaking. So we're all looking forward to meeting him personally and going to see his session. So if you've got tickets for Comsverse, you can see Eric live and meet him in person too. Okay, can everyone see?
We can see.
Okay, that's brilliant. So thank you ever so much for coming to attend this session. This is a presentation that I did a few weeks ago at Comsverse in-store. It's about Teams and Stream better together, meaning the integration between Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Stream. So to introduce myself for anyone who's not met me, my name is Chris Hoard. I work for Vusion here in the UK. We're a tier 2 CSP provider, so a distributor to many hundreds of partners throughout the UK, and I head up their education. I used to be the head of their professional services for many years, so getting hands-on and doing a lot of things like migrations. Well, now I tend to teach for a living. I used to be a secondary school teacher way back before I started IT, so life's come full circle. So again, thank you ever so much for attending, and what to expect from this session today is going to be about 30 minutes, is to really cover why use Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Stream together, what is the value proposition. Second is how. So we see a lot of basic use cases today, but people are not really kind of unlocking the full power of using Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Stream together. And the third part is looking towards the future, because there are going to be some really exciting developments on the integration between these two apps. And it's important that we have an eye on the future and where things are going, because personally, I find it all very exciting, and I can see today that we've got a few attendees that I know are big Stream advocates. So I'm looking at you, Chris Webb. He did a session on live events a few months back, so I'd recommend to pop onto our YouTube channel and view that, because very powerful functionality there. So I was thinking about the kind of the value proposition and where we start out, and I thought about Teams and I thought about Stream, but then I really wanted to come down to a kind of common denominator, and that's the importance of video today. So just pulling, because I like to base everything upon statistics. The first point really is the consumption of video today. 70% of global internet consumption is estimated to be video content. I mean, that was in a Cisco report that was issued a few years ago. And that number is incredibly high in terms of the content that we are consuming over the internet today. And that's not specific to Stream. I mean, that's all on all video platforms, so YouTube, Vimeo. But not just in terms of consumption. I mean, in terms of production, is how people like to consume information. If I was to watch every video that crossed the global IP networks every month, if I sat down and watched them out continually every month, then that would take me 5 million years to actually watch that video. So video is not just important for consuming information, it's also how both individuals and businesses are producing that information today. And I kind of wondered on this for a little bit and wondered why it was just, kind of so big for both business and individuals. I mean, as the chosen form of content delivery and as the chosen form of transmitting information. And it really does have a scientific basis. So there was an article published not too long ago by Live Science that basically said that it took 30 milliseconds for the brain to process an image. And this is 60,000 times faster than processing text. So as a form of transmitting information, video is very, very powerful, and things can be captured within video that can't always be transmitted via reading a document or reading a kind of a notification. It transmits images to our brain, which are kind of picked up and interpreted much faster. So in terms of delivering the information, they're very, very efficient. Now, I don't know in the case for everyone that's joined today, but also in an article from The Guardian now, in terms of the British public, at least one watch an online video a week, 1 in 3. And so, considering if that's a 1 in 3 statistic, and the population of the UK is somewhere between 60 and 70 million today, then you're looking at somewhere between 15 and 20 million videos, are being consumed every week by that British public, and that could be higher or lower across the world. But these statistics all go to show, from a production and consumption perspective, from a scientific and efficiency perspective, and also from a cultural perspective, that video is very, very important. And I think that is kind of characterized best by the success of YouTube. I mean, if we look at YouTube as a platform, in the top right-hand corner there, you'll see the growth of social media platforms over the last 15 years. And YouTube, as you can see there, almost 500 million users, far higher than Facebook and Twitter. In fact, greater than both of them combined. And if you dig into the statistics on YouTube, 1 billion unique monthly visitors. So nearly 1 out of every 2 internet users are YouTube. And the statistic at the bottom, I think, is a very important one. It reaches more US adults between 18 to 34 than a cable network. So not only are we seeing that people are picking video in terms to be able to consume and produce information, but also as well that this is a prevalent form amongst the younger generations and those millennials that are coming into the workforce. Even though YouTube has been very successful, why would we not just use YouTube and integrate that with Microsoft Teams today? Well, from my experience of working with partners and customers, there is a few reasons why. The first is in terms of privacy. Organizations don't necessarily want to put their private assets up onto public video platforms, or are comfortable for data residency purposes, or for the fact that they don't like YouTube for a platform. They want a platform which they control, that's more closely integrated with Office 365. The second reason can be for compliance. So again, they might not be happy with the YouTube platform. They want something that where the data residency is based where they are, integrated with existing systems. Stream gives the possibility to do that. The third reason why not to use YouTube is relevance. So this tends to be from a user's perspective. Organizations tend to tell me that with YouTube, if you were to say to members of the team, go off and find this video, then there's a lot of places where they can kind of run off into videos or go off on a tangent, whereas with something like Stream, you can be able to, as we will see later on, you can put them together and make the search for video and access to video very focused and productive, as opposed to when you search for something on YouTube, have hundreds, if not thousands, of search results. And the fourth is equity. It's about giving members of the team equal access to those videos. Some people are very good at searching for stuff on public platforms like YouTube, others not so much. So it's about giving equal access to the content to users. And this is all reasons why people are starting to move to use Stream within their organization, as opposed to just using YouTube and integrating YouTube with Microsoft Teams. But taking all of these 4 things together, privacy, compliance, relevance, and equity, it's also because Microsoft Stream is great for video. Now, I don't know how much that everyone on this call has used Stream so far, but as said previously, I know that there is a few advocates and evangelists here. And that is because Stream is a great application for video. It can use several formats, so it can use FLV, MOV files, WAV files, MP4 files, and it containerizes those files, so it's extremely robust in terms of the file formats that it can use. The second is in terms of its performance. So Stream uses adapt bitrate streaming, ABR. What that actually means is it actually adjusts to the network conditions. both through the Stream app and through Microsoft Teams. The third is that it's scalable. So when you open and play a stream video, that is what's called unicast. If you can think of it almost like a one-on-one connection to that video, but it can be scaled up for multicasting. You can integrate third-party solutions like Hive, Ramp, or Collective. Imagine that you have many thousands of users within your organization who are watching the video at the same time. Over unicast, that would take up massive amounts of bandwidth, but integrating these third-party solutions allows you to multicast so that the demands on the bandwidth are far less. And Stream today is ready to go to be able to integrate those solutions in order to be able to scale up. And the fourth solution is security. So whether in transit or at rest, those videos are secured with AES 128-bit encryption. So you can rest assured that your content and your assets are protected. The video is protected within Microsoft Stream. So where we start bringing these things together is really to start looking at Stream for the content and as the back end and pairing that together with Microsoft Teams, which is the hub for teamwork. So you're essentially taking your content and delivering that through Microsoft Teams. You can almost think of it like a back end, front end configuration, as opposed to using these two separately. And that has benefits for both the team and the organization. From the team perspective, it will boost productivity because through Microsoft Teams, you're bringing that video closer to the users. You're not having them switch out of context. You're bringing that content to where they are actively working. So it's not just good in terms of productivity. You can use it for learning, as I will show you shortly. It is also a more creative way to consume content. I mean, when you start using Teams, we talk about chat and we talk about files all the time as those kind of bedrock workloads. But as you and I will know, consuming information, we don't just want to do that through Word and PowerPoint. We want to be able to produce and consume video as well. So it allows us to be a lot more creative from content. And from a team perspective, it is in line with the culture. We'll go back to that statistic to say 1 in 3 British people view an online video per week. People are very accustomed to viewing and consuming video. And so particularly with younger members of the team, it's going to make much more sense to be able to consume your information through video than to wade through a really long PDF or even something like a docs.com article. So there are many benefits for bringing or surfacing your video content through Microsoft Teams for the team, but also through the organization. From an organization's perspective, it is also about productivity and the fact that you're bringing your content closer to the users. You're allowing them to keep focused. You're allowing them to not have to switch out of context so much. But also, it is also about the privacy, security, and control. If we go back and think about Stream videos being encrypted both in transit and at rest, this is much better than having them on a completely separate platform too, as we were talking about with YouTube. Finally, for the organization, it's all about the return on investment. So I know so many organizations today who use Microsoft Teams who have not even began to use Microsoft Stream, or it's not lit up, or they don't know who is using it within that organization. By pairing these together, it's a use case for Microsoft Teams, it's a use case for Microsoft Stream, and by integrating them together, you're increasing the return on investment for both, for either your Office 365 rollout or for your Microsoft 365 rollout. So in terms of today about how people are using Teams and Stream together, the first scenario tends to be in terms of recording. So that's capturing audio, video and screen sharing activity through Microsoft Teams meetings. Now, I can't demonstrate this today because I'm already in a Microsoft Teams meeting, but I think we should all be familiar, and if you will see up the top, Adam's recording this session, so he's done exactly this today. You can record your Microsoft Teams meetings, and they are recorded and placed into Microsoft Stream. For me personally, I tend to find that organizations do this for quite formal meetings, but there's nothing to stop you doing this for huddles or demos or seminars. If you look at the use cases on the left-hand side there, you could even do it for whiteboarding sessions. HR could do it for interviews. You could do screen sharing for supporting other users within your organization. There is a wealth of scenarios with which you could actually record meetings for, whether that's a meet now or whether that's for a meeting that you've set up prior. So we have the recording scenario. The second is the share scenario. So this is about sharing simple video posts. Where I find that your organizations are using Stream, they tend to share videos within channels. So if I kind of dive out here, okay, so I'm going to go into my team. Okay, so I have a team here. You can see that I am going to take this, which is a link to my video. I'm going to share this, okay, through Stream. It's going to ask me to paste the link from Stream to the video. And there we go. But this, really isn't that great because I'm not seeing what that video is. And if I click the link, it's simply going to redirect me to that and signpost to that video. So just simple recording for meetings and signposting, for video within channels or within private chats are not really powerful uses or really fully illustrate how you can use Teams and Microsoft Stream together. So we need to really pivot the thinking on this a little bit. Those first two scenarios are kind of characteristic of what I call tier one down here. A few people are using Teams and Stream together for meetings and recording, but are not really kind of surfacing that video content back up through Microsoft Teams. In terms to utilize it more, you don't just want to get teams and individuals doing this where it says 2 here, but in terms of this 3 up here. So what you're doing is that you're not only recording and all the content into Stream, but you're actually serving all of that video back up to Teams within the application. That tends to where you want to get to and where you're getting high utilization of both apps together and where you're getting more powerful scenarios. So how do we actually do that? Well, there are 5 kind of what I would call powerful possibilities that I just want to outline for you today. The first is being channels, the second being watch lists, the third being quizzes and series, the fourth being shared system audio, and the fifth being video-based apps. So we're just going to have a look at these and how we can actually do that. So number 1, channels. This is an organizational method for video. It can be assigned to individuals or groups and set up as tabs. So as you can see here in the screenshot, you can access or put or use a channel within Stream to be able to kind of cluster together videos for access by the team. And I'm just going to show you now how we actually do that. So if I dive into my team, okay, and I click here because I've set one up in advance, you can see that I have all of my videos together. But how did I actually do that? So I'm going to jump now into the Stream admin portal. I'm going to create myself a group. So I'm going to show you how to create this from scratch. You'll be able to see it loading. Okay, so I'm going to create private group. I'm going to add some members. I'm going to add Alan. I'm going to add Lydia, and then I'm going to create that. Okay, so there's my EuroTeams user group. There we go. That it's just been created. I'm just going to check inside the groups, inside the Microsoft 365. There we go. It's been created. So there's the group that's been created. Okay. Okay. Now I can go to channels. I can then create my channel. I give my group permissions over that channel. And then over, so if I go to a video now, so I've created both the group and the channel, and you can see that I have my list of videos. Then let's take this, this one here from Tom. If I go to edit that video, I can then give the channel and the team permissions over that video. Simply apply. And then here, if I was to add a stream tab, after some propagation, that would come up in here, and then you can pull down and have your channel, you know, full of actual videos for your team to be able to consume. So you can see that this is a much better way than even kind of going into actually stream itself to be able to look at your videos, because you're bringing down all of that channel, and you can have playlists, you can have learning paths, you can have recording lists, you can have project references, all kind of clustered within that, and you can create a group and a channel for each and every team. You know, teams are based off Office 365 groups, so if you create the Office 365 group through Stream and then add a team to it, it makes the kind of alignment very, very easy to be able to achieve this. The second scenario, so moving on from channels now, so I think we can get an idea of, you know, to the actual what channels, is also personalized watch lists. So personalized watch lists are for a specific member of the team. So imagine that I have the scenario whereby, okay, that I have either a channel or I'm actually in Microsoft Stream as well. So for my videos, some that are in channels and some not. So imagine that I have all of these. Well, all I can simply do if I want to add them to my personal watch list is I would click add to watch list. So I'm adding to a watch list there. Okay, I'm adding all these videos to my watch list. I can also do that. So if I come in here and I click on an actual video itself in the channel, I can also do that straight on the video itself. So how do I actually surface those watch lists within my actual kind of Teams instance? Well, if I go to add more apps and I go to stream and I click on stream, as you can see now, every video that I clicked in stream and through the channel is added to my own personalized watch list. So I can then go, and any one that I want, I can click on it and it will start that video. And I can remove it from my watch list once I've actually finished. So next time I go within stream, just loading up, you can see it's now disappeared. And if you want, you can also pin stream to the app bar on the left-hand side. So watch lists are very good for self-paced development. They're very good for canned demos. So let's say that I'm in a meeting with some people on site. I can run that canned demo straight from my watch list. And they're also good for, I guess, scenarios like portfolios. Imagine that as part of your annual appraisal and you want to show what you've done. I mean, by tagging them into your watch list, they're right there for those videos to be able to run and show immediately. So that's the second scenario. The third scenario is questions and series. So this is embedding videos within forms for learning or constructing logical series of video. As you can see here from the right-hand side, what you are actually seeing there is a video that's baked into a form that is then surfaced through Teams. Let's just go and see how we can actually do that. So in Teams, if I get my team up, so I go back to my UC Pro team, and if I click, because I set this up earlier on, see if this loads up. This could actually be the connection. This can take quite a while to come up. Just whilst that's loading and seeing if that's actually loading, I'm going to go into the actual Microsoft Forms panel to show you what this actually looks like. So with inside Forms, you can actually create a form that's linked to all of the videos. And it's really easy to be able to add another video to be able to do this. I simply add new and I click rating. And then right here on insert media, I then go to video, and then I'm going to cut the URL, pop in the URL, and I'm going to add, okay? And that's how you would do it, okay? And then you simply add more and more and more. Now, because this is a mock environment, it's saying that it isn't available because I've sent a link to a video that isn't actually in the stream, but all of these ones are. And once you've actually done this, you can take this and then pipe this up through Microsoft Teams. Now, the reasons why we would do that is that you would do that for kind of assessment for learning. As you can see here by the screenshot, you can put questions off the back of this video. You can do it for higher order learning. What I mean by that is in terms of you can write quizzes out in terms of just questions, but you also want to do it in terms of being able to measure stuff like people being able to synthesize information. In addition to kind of embedding questions, you can also do this for series, so kind of several videos in a row. You can have a logical ordering to them. You can have a thematic ordering to them, almost like you're moving people through lines of video. It's a very effective way to do that. That's the third scenario. The fourth scenario, and what I've done here is I'm sharing with shared system audio. So if you can see this button down on the left-hand side, what that actually means is that you can play stream video within meetings, huddles, or demos, and then you will be able to hear the actual audio. If I go into Teams and I go into my watch list, I'm just going to select one of these videos and let it play.
Step 5 in my OneNote productivity system is execute. Executing on those to-do lists that gets created by all the stuff you collect in the collection section.
So shared system audio means is that you can actually bring that audio up through the meeting, and that's not just for stream videos. You can also do it for YouTube videos, but it is all about richer content in meetings, richer content in training. I train Microsoft 365 and Azure fundamentals courses here in the UK. I can now do them virtually because of this function, so I can share PowerPoints like this. I can share Word documents. I can share through the sharing my screen, but now I can also play audio through that. So you can do canned demos again in virtualized meetings, and it's also about content curation, bringing together much richer content than you can do previously. So again, that's bringing that functionality together. The fifth and final scenario to move on to, and the one that we're finishing off, is about video-based apps. So very recently, Stream was added to Power Apps. So you can base your stream video now in custom apps uploaded into Teams. And these apps can be for learning, they could be for tasks, they could be for onboarding, or they can be for selling. I'm just going to show you an example of what I kind of cooked up in the space of about 45 minutes. So in Power Apps, so if I go into the Power Apps portal, I built a very, very simple app with a kind of a front screen. Then I had kind of a base of a gallery to then filter into individual kind of sections on each of the speakers. And as you can see there, I've actually embedded a video within this actual page of the application itself. So I exported this once it was completed, and if I go to the apps, I then uploaded it directly into Teams. So now, if I click on the ellipsis on the left-hand side on the rail, and then click on UC Pro, which was the app that I built, you can now see. So if I click on the start button and then I click on there on Martin, it'll ask me to sign in. So I'm going to use my tenant creds. Okay. There we go. So you can actually use this and serve upstream. So if we just go and start here using the shared system audio.
So we are using that. Come over to the E-Link stamp. I guess.
So that's potentially a lot richer information that you can actually surface through apps. And it's not just, the video. You can put it alongside pictures. You can put it alongside kind of information that you put in there. You have a rating there. If I was to click on, one of these links, it would actually go through to the site, opening a website and take you through to Martin's information. So this is just a kind of example I mocked up of, I guess, an employee application. Then this can be very powerful. It doesn't have to just be this kind of application. It can be for anything. Imagine that we're all skilling up on Microsoft Teams and we're building ourselves an app here where you could put not only the docs.com articles in here, but put it alongside video to be able to see how to administer or use Microsoft Teams. That would be very, very valuable and very easy to do at this point. So we've been through 5 scenarios. The first is being able to build channels to organize your videos. The second is to build personal watch lists so that you can easily access your videos from a personal perspective, whether it's for canned demos or for personal watch lists, or to, you know, your favorite videos, or for, you know, scenarios such as your appraisals. The third we've seen is the embedding video into forms, both for quizzes and for series. The fourth is a shared system audio, and the fifth is surfacing those videos and video-based applications. So that is 5 ways to kind of integrate Teams and Stream together. Now, in terms of the future, very, very exciting. We have the mobile recording, so that's coming out in Q1, okay, of this year. So this should be coming along by the end of March. So this is being able to create personalized videos directly from the Stream mobile app. Now, this is quite important because when you record from the app, it goes straight into Microsoft Stream. It's not recorded on the camera roll. You can record live events. So imagine if you go to something like Microsoft Ignite the Tour or Microsoft Ignite in New Orleans this year, you'll be able to sit in the front row, record straight off your app, and that will record into Stream. Now, if you can upload to channels, which is also coming in this Q1, then that means is that you can record that video, it upload directly into the channel within Stream and be available to your team immediately after that's finished recording. So that is very, very powerful functionality. As said, from a security perspective, it's not uploaded into camera roll, it's not uploaded to iCloud or anything like that. It's securely recorded and then served up to your channel through to your other members of the team. The second functionality is anonymous sharing. So this is allowing the individual videos to be marked for external public access. Now that's coming along, or is stated to come along at Q4, so towards the end of this year. The reason why it will be such a big thing is that guests will be able to view video within Teams. Organizations will be able to better control their assets, because some organizations say because they can't show external users at this current point, they're almost forced to put it on a public platform like YouTube. Well, when this comes along, they will be able to share with their external users without having to put it on the public platform. So returning to outcomes, now we're finishing off. We've been through the reasons why video is so important, why YouTube has been so successful, why people aren't putting it on YouTube, and why Stream is really kind of a great application to start using. We've gone through the how, so moving on from those standard user cases of recording video and sharing and signposting to a video, we've gone through those 5 scenarios, and we've had a little look at the future and how they're going to be integrating together over the course of 2020. So I just want to take this time to thank you ever so much, because I know that that's been very, very quick. And to be honest, I actually kind of said to Adam and Vesku this morning to be actually up for a go on this, so it's at quite short notice. But I hope you've actually enjoyed this, and yeah, if you've got any questions, do you want to fire me any questions now, or alternatively you can contact me in the coming days?
Chris, it's a great session about the usability of Stream. I was just wondering about the why you didn't create a company-wide channel instead of creating another group.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can create company-wide channels if you want to kind of organize the videos for the whole organization. That's the point for a company-wide channel. But let's say that you just wanted a set of videos specifically for a team in question. Like, let's say that we were all part of a UC team, or we were part of a Microsoft Teams or Stream team, and you wanted a set of videos specifically for that current team, then you would create the Office, the Office 365 group through Stream, link a team to it, and then you would create that channel and give the group permissions on that channel. So only the group would be able to access those videos through Microsoft Teams. So you're using the Office 365 groups to be able to control access to the videos that have been organized in the channel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Of course, if we are already a member of a team, we already have a stream group. Every team has the stream group automatically there.
Yes,
but, of course, if we want to share to different audience, then there would be a different group for that.
That's exactly correct. So you should have that Office 365 group there. So you would go in, you would create the channel, for example, and if you were the owner of the team, so the owner of the Office 365 group, then you, after creating the channel, you would give your group permissions on it.
No. It's as a team, we already are in there.
Okay.
Yeah, there are basically 3 different scenarios there, and it's kind of interesting.
Exactly, and you can give multiple, groups kind of permissions on that channel as well. Channels don't have anything to do with permissions; they're just an organizing mechanism for the videos.
Yeah, and showing them, just like you were trying using in your example. Just you can bring them out to the SharePoint pages or as a channel or to Teams or somewhere else.
That's correct. I mean, mine had not, it takes a little bit of time for that to propagate through to Microsoft Teams. That's why I wasn't picking up, but I'm sure that
no, you picked up the wrong link.
Exactly.
You picked up the wrong link.
Oh, did I?
The channel link.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why.
That's good to note for next time.
Yeah, that's always the thing when you copy paste in a hurry.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to interrupt you at that point of time. Yeah, and there was of course interesting stuff like the forms and a stream integration that can be done, of course, in 2 ways. Like the way you did it. I haven't even tried that one. I need to test that one day. And of course, you can embed the forms questionnaire into the stream video.
That's right, and I'm just gonna put a link here now with inside the actual team. So, if you come to I'm just gonna put up my my blog, which is Microsoft 365pro.co.uk. So sorry, all that's corrected on the second link. Then you'll be able to click on that. Every single one of those scenarios, I've actually got a blog on the site, and that will go through all the steps to be able to do every one of those scenarios, because it's important that if you do want to go off and do them after today, you can go back and look at the video, of course, but you will be able to have steps there in specific blogs. So just jump onto the site and they'll all be there to be able to show you how to do it.
Yeah, and I liked your power-ups example. And of course, there's the other way of doing that too. You can create a kind of the SharePoint application as well. So you don't have to use power-ups if you don't want to. You can just create the pages to the modern SharePoint and create a kind of a Teams application with the App Studio and link to those pages. I tested that with the stream video just recently, so it works very well in there as well. So there's different aspects. How to do
that. Exactly. There is another way. I mean, like you say, if you pull through the Stream app within SharePoint and then attach a SharePoint page internally, and assuming that you did company-wide for all of those videos, you could essentially have a SharePoint page that serves up every video in your organization through to your teams. So that would be another way to do it too.
Yeah, but that's just shows how many ways you have to do things with the Teams and SharePoint and power-ups overall in Office 365.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the whole point of the session is that utilization of these is, people are using Teams. Teams seems to be their chosen place with which to work. And I think that if you're going to look at using other applications, is to bring them into Microsoft Teams. And that was kind of really the point about using them. They're better together, Stream and Teams, not when you're just kind of one way recording into Stream and then using it as a dump for all of your videos and your recordings, kind of using it more like almost like a compliance hold for your videos going forward. It's where you actually pull the content back through to Microsoft Teams, and you're serving it up to your users, and they're kind of consuming as well as producing at that point. That's when you get the most kind of powerful combination.
Indeed. Excellent, Chris.
Okay, awesome. Adam, that's it. So do you want to kind of finish off, Adam, for today?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, great session, Chris. Thank you so much. That was both of our sessions for today. I will upload this meeting to our YouTube channel as soon as possible. I'll try to get it done actually today, because I will start my new job tomorrow, and I will lose this tenant actually. So I'll try to do that as soon as possible. So as we also said earlier, no meet next month because all three of us will be at MVP Summit, and we'll be busy arranging the Springfest as well. But we'll see you all, of course, at Springfest, and we'll have our monthly meeting again in April. What was it? April 21st?
21st.
Yeah, that's right. 21st. Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you next time.